guys ready for one of your headliners? Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Rivers.
Thanks for coming out, guys. How about it, huh? Yeah. Wow, it's been a crazy year. I had a COVID scare recently. I was drinking a soda and I couldn't taste anything. And then I realized it was just a LaCroix. All right, it's just the first joke. They'll get better from here, I promise. I'm sorry. I'm a little rusty. My job has been illegal for the last year, so. Just been sitting around collecting unemployment. Yeah, pretty humbling when the government is like, hey, we'll pay you to not tell jokes. I'm like, wow. I thought it was going okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, though, it was pretty nice when that $600 bonus was active. I was making almost 80% of my normal salary as a comedian. But now I didn't have to pay for plane tickets or hotels or sex. I was saving so much money. Hate that joke is so believable, but hey, the vaccine's here, so we're back to work. I got vaccinated. Yeah, anybody vaccinated? Round of applause. Those are good numbers for Everett, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I got vaccinated, although it was Johnson & Johnson, so oh boy. Thanks for coming to my last show. Now, I gotta give Biden some credit. I think he did a great job getting the vaccine out quickly to everyone. And I mean, obviously it helps to have a son who knows where to get drugs, but, oh boy, oh. That joke would've worked for either president. Calm down, just covering the bases. I'm pretty liberal as a person, but I think as a comedian, it's only fair to make fun of both sides a little bit. Some audiences don't like that. There's a video on my YouTube channel of Trump supporters trying to boo me off stage, if you're into that kind of thing. I wasn't really laughing at the time, but I was doing a show recently. This woman chased me down into the parking lot. She goes, you made fun of both Trump and Biden, but I couldn't tell. Which side are you on? I was like, well, my only allegiance is to the truth. And she goes, but that's Trump. And I was like, oh, the opposite side of you. Yeah. Not much to talk about. There's a lot of skepticism about the vaccine, which is surprising for a country that made Taco Bell so popular. You know what I mean? That's a lot of people like, I want to know what's going in my body. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that isn't steak. So, makes me wonder, whatever happened to that talking chihuahua? I don't know. Taco Bell is so popular, they added breakfast and a fourth meal. They added, Taco Bell is basically like, you know that food pyramid we've been teaching you since 3rd grade? Fake news, all right? Normalize eating 2,000 calories at 1 in the morning. Taco Bell for breakfast, that sounds like a bad way to start the day. The only time I want Taco Bell at 9 a.m. is if I stop drinking at 8:59 a.m. And that is... I don't really drink that much anymore. I became an accidental pothead this last year. Yeah, well, I used to smoke just a little bit, and then they closed everything except pot shops and grocery stores. And I was like, well, this economy needs me. I'm a hero. I enjoy pot. I don't like potheads. They're not the greatest group of friends to have around, you know? A bunch of my friends were starting a rumor that they were like, potheads are immune to COVID, right? Because, like, their lungs are already filled with smoke, so the COVID can't even find its way when it gets in there. Plus, they're always smoking, so if there's any loose COVID in the air, they're blowing it away. I was like, that's not what's happening. Potheads don't get COVID because they don't fucking go anywhere. That's what's happening. Did you call up your pothead buddies this last year? Hey, we're getting a group of 20 strangers to go to a bar together. You want to come hang out? Man, I would, but Netflix just put out a new documentary on bees. I think I'm gonna stay home. We're running out of bees, man. One nice thing about being forced to lock down was I didn't have to lie to my parents about what I did during the day anymore. They just call me up. How was your day? Pretty good. What'd you do? Fucking nothing. Sat around, smoked some pot. I didn't even leave the house. I'm like, we're so proud of you. You're keeping us alive. I don't know about you guys. I try to just keep a routine. That way I didn't go crazy. Just treat every day like it's a normal day, right? Like, I'd even set an alarm before bed. And then first thing in the morning, I wake up, I take the gun out of my mouth, I brush my teeth, you know, I just try. It's just a joke. Don't worry. I'm sorry. You're not going to see me on the news tomorrow. They wouldn't cover it. I promise, just a joke. I just been smoking weed and watching Netflix. It's really all I've ever wanted out of life anyway, so it was pretty good. I love Netflix, but it's too hard to pick out a movie on Netflix. I'll spend more time picking out a movie than the length of the movie that I wasn't sure. Yeah. Well, Netflix isn't picking up this special now, but I think you gotta recategorize movies. Like, you gotta know, what you're getting invested into. Like, you gotta pick the right movie for the right situation. I was Netflix and chilling with a girl one time, but she picked out too good of a movie. So, like, halfway through, she started to make her move. I had to be like, hey, get off me. This is an important plot point, all right? Babe, there's subtitles. I gotta pay attention. This won an Oscar. I think they should recategorize movies on Netflix by how much attention you have to pay to the plot line in order to follow along. Yes, you want to know what you're getting invested into, right? Like the bottom of the spectrum would be like Fast and Furious movies, right? You're like, oh, Fast and Furious is on, perfect. Let me go get my taxes. I can do that. Right? Every 15 minutes, you just look up like, oh, Vin Diesel's winning. He's fast. All right. Oh, he's losing. He's furious. What a great movie name. Oh. The other end of the spectrum would be like Game of Thrones, right? Oh, Game of Thrones is on. Let me go to the storage unit and get my 17 boxes of notes from the last season. I got a fake map for my TV show. I don't know my own city this well. I use Google Maps to get home every day, but I got a fake map I gotta study. I need an Ancestry.com account just to follow along. These are brother and sister? This show is very weird. It's great to be in Everett. I went to school here, actually, yeah. University of Phoenix online, so great to be back. Yeah. I live by a school, and I'm allowed to, and it's weird to live by a school, because I always see kids in the neighborhood walking home from school by themselves. It's always the loser kids with no friends. Yeah, I always get sentimental because I used to be me. I always want to go up to them like, hey, I'm you from the future. Go make some friends. This doesn't work out well for us. Just yelling at random kids on the street, drop that stupid stick, you're not a wizard. Girls aren't gonna like you. He's like, those are my crutches. Whatever, loser, get out of my face. I just turned 36 years old, which means I love my parents now. That's pretty new. Yeah. It takes a while. I guess that's what happens as you get older. You relate to them more, you know? Not that 36 is old. I'm not moving to Florida, but it's different. When I was 20, I was like, I'm invincible. I'll party all night. Now I'm in my 30s. I'm like, I can't leave the house. I had too much dairy. You know, like things change. I used to try to fix stuff. I'd be like, oh, my neck hurts. I'll go to the chiropractor. Now I'm like, I just won't look left. That's fine. I don't live in London. It's not important. Good job on a geography joke, Everett. Come on. I'm proud of you. All right, thank you. I love my parents. I worry about them. My dad just bought a gun for the first time in his life, which is very scary, because he's 65. Which is when you want to get your first gun, right? 65. That's when the mind is at its sharpest, you know? He's like, I can hit all the targets at once. I'm like, there's one target. You have bad vision. He bought the gun and then he told me about it, and immediately he was like, don't tell anybody. So just keep this between us. What do you mean, don't tell anybody? Isn't that the point of having guns? You tell everyone you have guns, then they don't come to your house. He was like, nah, man, element of surprise. Who are your enemies? You live in the woods and make honey. I don't think it's that gangster of an operation. You have pet bees, okay? Calm down, Breaking Bad. For his birthday recently, I bought him a tracker for his keys. Because he's always losing his keys. And he just bought a gun. You guys remember where we were going with it? It was literally a month before his birthday. I was still trying to pick out a gift. And then I heard a story. One day, my dad was going to work. He got into his car, and he couldn't find his keys that he just unlocked his car with. Literally, he was like, beep, beep, and then he got in the car, and he was like, oh no, where did I put it? So he did the only reasonable thing he could think of. He went back in the house, stole my mom's keys, then just drove to work as if nothing had happened. And when he got home, he found his keys on the roof of his car the whole time. And he just bought a gun. You guys don't seem as worried as you should be. They're giving them to anybody. I think the element of surprise is gonna be when someone breaks into his house and he can't find his gun. You know what I mean? They're like, hang on 1 second, I got a tracker for it, calm down. Quiet, it's beeping. Oh, it says 3 meters to the left. What's a meter? Oh. Go back to your country, stupid app. Learn the language. My mom is great also. She's a wonderful source of material, which is all that matters. She's got arthritis on her middle fingers. Yeah, which they say comes from overuse, so I guess that's my fault. I guess that's what happens when you raise a comedian. You get extra reps on the middle finger. The good news is she just discovered that cannabis oil makes it feel better. A little bit of cream, you rub some on, pain goes away for a couple days, which is amazing, because now I don't have to feel bad whenever I piss her off. She's like, hey, fuck you, oh, it feels amazing. I still got it. I'm back in my prime, you know? Literally, everywhere we go, she just flips people off for fun. It's like her favorite hobby for some reason. I guess she's like, you never know what you have till it's gone. You know? It's interesting to me, though, because she grew up in an era where marijuana had this stigma. You know, oh, cannabis is the devil. So she doesn't want her kids to know about it. But I'm not an idiot. Her name is Lisa, but in all of her high school yearbooks, her nickname was Mary Jane. I'm just like, that's not short for Lisa. So she doesn't want me to know, which is fine. The only problem is she lives in a state where marijuana is illegal still. And I live in Washington, where it's mandatory. So, she needs me, yeah. Guess who's the favorite son now? She was visiting me a couple months ago, and now I've realized that's the only reason she comes to visit anymore. I pick her up at the airport, I'm like, good to see you. She's like, move, let's go to the store. I'm like, oh, I love you too. But she was at my house, and I didn't know about her new hobbies at the time. I was getting ready to take her to the airport. She goes, hey, I forgot to mail this package to my friend. Will you send it for me? Some of you guys are catching on a lot quicker than I did. I'm an idiot. I was like, absolutely, I'm a great son. I would do anything for you. I take her to the airport. As she's getting out of my car, she starts looking around, all creepy. She's like, if anyone asks what's in the package, you don't know. I was like, I didn't know. Now I'm pretty sure it's a bomb. Like, what are you doing? Trying to blow up a FedEx plane? Put Tom Hanks on an island again? She's like, it's not a bomb. I went to the green store. That's what she calls it. I was like, oh, you just want to smoke some pot? That's totally fine. She's like, it's not for me. It's for my friend. I was like, oh, your friend, totally cool, all right? I have a friend who experimented in high school and yesterday, so no judgment. She hands me a $100 bill. She goes, use this to pay for the package and you can keep the rest of the money. I was like, wow, I gotta raise my ticket prices. I'm willingly committing a felony for like $83 at this point. I was like, I need that money, so we're just gonna find out what happens. I get to the post office. The guy behind the counter has a lot of questions for me. Imagine that being part of his job. He's like, hey man, anything fragile in this package? I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. Probably not. Let's go with no. He was like, it's not multiple choice. He's like, how much does it weigh? I was like, 3.5 grams. Anything flammable? I'm like, ooh. Define flammable. Not yet. It is that fire, you know what I'm talking about? At this point, he's tired of playing 21 questions. He's like, dude, there's 30 people in line behind you. Just tell me what's in the package, and then I know how we have to send it. I was like, I don't know what's in the package. Which is a great answer for a post office, right? Try it at the airports, they love it, you know? Hey, someone else handed me this suitcase, told me to drop it off with you. Is that cool? I haven't heard any announcements for 20 years. He's like, what do you mean you don't know what's in the package? I was like, my mom gave it to me, but she doesn't know what's in it either. Her friend gave it to her, and then she just got caught up in something she doesn't understand. I'm making this worse, aren't I? He's like, you're an idiot. He goes, why don't you just call your mom and find out what's in the package? I was like, that's a great idea. So I take the package, I drive home, I change my license plates, right? I was like, they're calling the FBI for sure at this point. I call my mom, I go, hey, I need to know if anything in this package is flammable for the post office. And she's like, well, I don't know if the oil is flammable, but I did put hairspray and deodorant in the package, and that's super flammable. I was like, why the fuck would you do that? She goes, well, in case they x-ray the package. I'm not making any of this up, by the way. I just want you to know. Literally, in her mind, she was like, whoever's working the x-ray machine is gonna be like, what is that, marijuana? Oh, there's deodorant, never mind. It's like, no one would put those two things in the same package. Everyone knows stoners have poor hygiene. If it were dreadlock oil or Jamaican flags, we'd be a little concerned, but nothing to see here. So I take the package, I cut it open, I take out all the bomb-making materials, and I seal it back up. And I call my mom, I'm like, all right, I'm heading back to the post office. Any last-minute instructions? She's like, well, don't go back to the same post office. What, are you an idiot? I'm like, yeah, apparently, all right? Look, this is my first felony. You gotta give me more specific directions. She goes, take it to your brother's house and make him send it. You're too honest. Sorry, just how I was raised, I guess. I had really shitty parents growing up, so. I didn't know what to do. I just drove to my brother's house. I was like, Mom wants you to mail this out. I wouldn't ask a lot of questions. And then I just left. I was like, I'm downgraded to an accessory. Yeah. A couple months later, I was on tour to the state my mom lives in. I'm not gonna mention which state now. Bunch of narcs in here, but I was visiting my mom. I go, hey, did your friend ever get that package, you know? She goes, yeah, she did, thank you so much. And then I started laughing, because I was picturing this moment where I tell everybody, and she caught on really quickly. She was like, this is not for the stage. I was like, no, this joke isn't for me. This joke is for my friend. He really needs it, you know? It's funny now, because looking back on my life, I should have realized that was just the first warning sign that my mom was gonna be an international drug lord someday. I got some dental surgery a little while ago. I've been insecure about my teeth for my whole life. I've always had giant gums and small teeth, which doesn't matter, but it's not the look they're putting in magazines. So, one day, a buddy of mine goes, dude, there's this dentist in Portland, Oregon that will give you free surgery if you do his podcast. I was like, sounds real Craigslisty to me, but considering my health insurance is through GoFundMe, like I don't know what other option I have. So I drive down to Portland, and it turns out it's a real podcast. He's a real dentist also. That is more important. I should have led with that. He's not a real dentist, but that podcast was fire. You know, that's not a good sentence. No, he's a real dentist. You just go in this alley and get in his van, and he does all the work for free. No, he's totally real. He showed me a license. Could have been fake, but it's a podcast. It's called Drilled Podcast. You can look it up. The whole premise is that he gets comedians high on laughing gas, and then he interviews them. And yeah, actually, now that I say that out loud, I'm not sure that that's legal, but not my problem anymore. Surgery is done and paid for, and it turned out great. But what's crazy is it's been 2 years now, and none of my friends have ever said anything. Like, no one even noticed, which is crazy. Like, this is a thing I've been insecure about my whole life, and it turns out no one gave a shit. But that's also a nice life lesson on the other end of it, right? Like, hey, it doesn't really matter what you look like. It's how you treat people and who you are on the inside. So, yeah. So, I'm getting my tits done next week. That's gonna be exciting. Yeah. I'm gonna stream my colonoscopy on Twitch later, so you gotta do what you gotta do to get the stuff done. But they gave me some drugs after the surgery, and they were great. They were really effective, and the pain went away. And then a couple days later, there was no more pain, so I put the drugs away. And then a couple days after that, the pain came back, but this time it was on the inside. And I found myself wondering out loud. I was like, I wonder where I put those drugs. And I was like, well, that's not a good sentence to say alone in your room. So I called my mom, because I was like, well, she's the expert on drugs. She'll know what to do. I go, hey, they gave me these drugs, and I think they're too strong. I don't trust myself having them in my house. I think I'm just going to throw them away. And she goes, you should sell them. And I did, which has got to be the worst part of the story. A lot of people end up in jail because they're like, oh, I had a rough childhood. My parents weren't around all the time. And I'm going to end up in jail like, I had a rough childhood. My parents were around all the time. Just really bad influences on me. For example, recently I was on tour to a state where marijuana is not legal, and I wanted some, and my mom wasn't around. So I sent a text to a buddy of mine. He replied back in 3 minutes. And he goes, here's my drug dealer's address. He's expecting you. I was like, wow. Yeah, that feels sudden. I don't know what I thought was gonna happen. Like, he's gonna send me a list of names. I'm gonna Yelp the drug dealers. Like, oh, Slayer has 4 stars. Let's go with that guy, you know? Yeah. But I'm not gonna just drive to a random address in the middle of the night for a little bit of pot. That's ridiculous. So I'm driving to a random address in the middle of the night for just a little bit of pot. And I'm realizing on the ride there, I'm like, this is exactly why weed needs to be legal everywhere. I shouldn't have to get stabbed behind a dumpster of a 7-Eleven just to make a Ben Stiller movie funny for once. That seems like too much work. A lot more Ben Stiller fans than I thought, but I get to the guy's house, and he opens the door, and he goes, oh my God, Andrew Rivers from Dry Bar Comedy? My friends are never gonna believe that you're at my house buying drugs. I was like, you don't have to tell them. If they're not gonna believe you anyway, maybe we can skip a step, you know? He goes, come in, man, I'm gonna hook you up. He kept saying that all night. He's like, I'm hooking you up. You're getting hooked up tonight. And I only bring that up so you know the rest of the story is his fault. So I get in there, he is hooking me up. He's literally pouring marijuana out of a coffee can into a giant Ziploc bag. And I'm like, well, that's more than I asked for, but I deserve it. So I didn't know. But then I thought, like, maybe I'm taking advantage of him because he thinks I'm a big celebrity or whatever. You know, I don't want to ruin his whole imagination. He's gonna call TMZ the next day and be like, guess who bought drugs? And they're like, who? And then he's like, oh no. So I was like, why don't I just like give him $20 out of the generosity of my heart? I really thought I was being a nice guy. And so I get $20 out of my pocket, I'm like counting it up, and he goes, yeah man, that'll just be $100. Yeah, this is clearly not my fault. I obviously don't know the drug dealer lingo, okay? When he said he's hooking me up, I thought I was getting free drugs. He meant like a student discount, you know what I mean? Imagine if I said, I'm hooking you guys up with tickets tonight, and then you showed up and they're like, it's $40 each. You'd be like, that's a reasonable price for a level of talent we're about to see, but we really had our hearts set on free. Maybe we could work out an early bird special or something, you know? So I didn't want to back out of the transaction also, because I didn't know if that was like a faux pas of drug deals. Like, when the bag is sealed, so is the deal, man. You know, I was like... So I just accidentally bought $100 worth of marijuana. And then I left. I gave him 4 stars on Drug Dealer Yelp. I figured, you know, fast service, good hours, but does not accept his competitors' coupons. I get to my hotel, I smoke a joint, and then the next day, I'm driving to the airport because it was my last day in town, which is why I only wanted a little bit of marijuana in the first place. So I'm driving to the airport, and I'm realizing, like, what am I gonna do with $99 of leftover marijuana? I can't just throw it away. I can hear my mom now. There are starving kids in China that would love to have that marijuana, you know, so... Then I had an idea. I was like, I'll just mail it to myself. Yeah. Where would he come up with that plan? Thanks, Mom. I get to the post office, I hand the guy my package, and then we have a moment. Because we both realized at the exact same time that simply adding a second Ziploc bag does not cover the smell of $99 worth of marijuana. I know that seems obvious, but this is still my first felony. You gotta remember, the other one was downgraded to a misdemeanor, so this is crazy. You're not gonna believe this. It turns out when you smoke marijuana, you also smell like marijuana. So the whole car ride, I put it in another bag, and I was like, I don't smell anything. And I got to the post office, I put it in another bag, and I was like, I don't smell anything. And then as soon as I handed it to the guy, I was like, that's all I smell. And then he made eye contact, as if to confirm it. He was like, don't do this to me, man. You put me in a tough spot. So I just backed out slowly. I was like, be my guy on the inside. I get to my car, and I immediately Googled, what happens if I mailed myself drugs? Which has gotta be the dumbest move of all time. I'm still on their Wi-Fi. Like, they don't even need a warrant to just go through my phone and be like, oh, look at that. Super guilty. Also, not the most embarrassing thing on my search history, okay? Definitely the most illegal, but not the most embarrassing. They were stepsisters, that's fine, technically. Don't worry about it. A couple days later, I get home. I do not have a package of drugs, but I do have a love letter from the post office. And it says, hey, we confiscated your package because we suspect that there are drugs in it. I'm like, wow, what gave you that impression? And the letter says, hey, we don't have a warrant to open your package, so we're gonna just hang on to it unless you want to come down. We could just open it together, you know? If there's no drugs, you just be on your way. I'm like, I think you guys just hang on to it. I don't know who's trying to send me drugs, but I do not approve of that, all right? I probably shouldn't have used my mom's return address. I just figured she's already in the system. I'm not going down like that. My dad doesn't use marijuana, which is good. I mean, if he's losing his keys this much sober, maybe pot's not for you. Getting old is just being permanently stoned anyway, right? You're just walking around like, where'd I put my keys? I'm hungry. I need a nap. You know what I mean? Like, every time I get stoned, I'm like, I'm me from the future. This is gonna be great. My dad's actually been sober for 30 years, which is suspicious. Because I'm 36. Sure, that's just a coincidence, right? It's definitely an awkward conversation to have. Like, hey, what was your rock bottom? Oh, you. All right, appreciate it. I have no idea what I did as a kid, but imagine he sat me down and was like, look, if I don't quit drinking, one of us isn't gonna make it. So, I'm glad he made the right choice. I would have missed him. I'm not sober yet. I would like to quit drinking, but I'm worried that if I do, I'll have to get a personality. Seems like a lot of work. I'm trying to moderate my drinking for now. It's not great. I'm just trying to make a decision before a judge makes one for me. So my new life motto is that 2 drinks is the new midnight, right? Because when I was growing up, my dad would always be like, nothing good happens after midnight. Sure, we've all heard that lecture, you know? Nothing open but legs, hospitals, and ATMs. Comedy skips a generation, I guess. Look, it's great dad advice. If you're withdrawing money from an ATM at 1 in the morning, it's not going to charity. You know what I mean? Like, Red Cross doesn't have a drop box. It's 9 a.m. Puerto Rico time. They need it now. That hurricane was bad. If you're withdrawing money at 1 in the morning for charity, that's the stripper's name. So, no judgment. I've bought plenty of textbooks. For me, 2 drinks is the new midnight, because nothing good happens after 2 drinks. For me, I'm a lightweight. I have 2 drinks. I'm like, I feel so sexy and successful. This is amazing. And your drunk logic is like, if I feel this good after 2 drinks, imagine how I feel after 17, you know? But it's never a continuous experience, a lot of diminishing returns, right? You get to 3 drinks, it's pretty much the same, so it tricks you. You're like, well, nothing bad has happened. I just gotta keep drinking. It's like, no, you don't unlock new levels. Tone it down. You get to 4 drinks, it starts going back down. It's real subtle at first, but 4 drinks, you're like, I should call my ex-girlfriend. I bet she wants to hear from me at 1 in the morning, right? 5 drinks, you're like, condoms are overrated, you know, and then you get to 7 drinks, you're like, I'm gonna be a comedian. Like, no good decision. Thanks for clapping. I came up with the rule because I had an incident a couple years ago. Got a little too drunk. I ended up texting an ex-girlfriend. Not in like a sappy, like, oh, I miss your cuddles. I'm too gangster for that. I was at a bar. It was Easter Sunday, so I was like, what would Jesus do, you know? Probably get hammered, so. They weren't gonna get it if you didn't say anything. I was at a bar. A 65-year-old man walked into the bar wearing a dress, which is very funny. He wasn't transitioning. If he was, the drugs were not effective. Like, he had a full gray beard. He wasn't wearing makeup. He wasn't trying to be pretty. That's all I'm gonna assume. I think he was just drunk. He was like, 17 drinks, I'll wear a dress in public, I'm hilarious. You know, which, hey, you know, different hobbies than me. Live your life, Senator. So I took a photo with me and Mrs. Doubtfire, and I sent that to my ex-girlfriend. I go, hey, I just want to let you know I've moved on. Will you guys text her and let her know that's funny? Because I'm still blocked. What's funny to me is even before I sent the text, I was staring at my phone for 10 minutes like, this probably doesn't end well, you know? Do you ever have that instinct that you ignore all the time? But I was with my best friend. I was like, surely Corey wouldn't lead me down the wrong path. What are friends for? So I showed him the photo. I go, hey, should I send this? He was like, that's hilarious. I was like, that's not the question I asked you. Is this a good idea? He was like, that's hilarious. I'm happy single. I hate the process of a breakup, though, because all your friends reach out and they're like, oh, what happened? You guys seem so happy. It's like, yeah, I'm not posting the bad stuff on Facebook. That's what happened, right? Who does that? Here's a selfie of us. I mean, she's crying for some reason. Probably my fault, like it always is, you know? Why is this only getting 4 likes? I don't understand. Facebook's not real life. Facebook should be like church. You know, you just check in twice a week to show off your outfit and remind everyone that you're better than them. That's what it's for. Can't do that on Dry Bar. Yeah, went through a breakup recently, but don't worry, I'm gonna get her back with these jokes. It was a real surprise breakup. I didn't see it coming at all. I was always trying to keep things spicy in the bedroom, so we always played a game that was her favorite. It's called Sexy Librarian, which is where I'm not allowed to talk and she reads a book. Instead, not a fun game. I never got to be librarian. Let's switch it up once in a while. We had a lot of communication issues, I realized. You know, she was always trying to hint things to me during the relationship, but I'm an idiot. You know, one morning she was like, I had a dream last night that you started working out and you got super ripped. It was so sexy. I'm like, oh. I had a dream that you accepted me for who I was. You know, and that's not... Yeah, I won the battle, but I lost the girl, you know. After we broke up, I was replaced by a dog, which is refreshing to know the relationship wasn't my fault after all. She just needed someone that would obey her commands. I know you guys can't laugh. You're like, she's right there. It's dark, but it's not that dark. Trying to get back out there. I was seeing this girl over the summer, and things are going well. One night we were about to hook up, but she's got a random nosebleed in the middle of it. Like, out of nowhere, her nose started bleeding. At least that's what I told the cops. And, you know... You know what's interesting about making out with someone who's bleeding? You don't know for a while. Because I'm not making out with my eyes open like some kind of creep, like, oh, I like to watch. I want to remember this. So you just kind of go until you taste blood. Pennies, huh? So that kind of killed the vibe for the night. We never ended up having sex. And then just because of scheduling, like, we never got to hang out again after that. Like, I went on tour and she didn't want to talk to me anymore, so we just went our separate ways. But then a couple months later, she showed up on a reality TV show called The Bachelor. Woo! 6 people watch the show. That's good. It's a reality TV show, right? They take 40 women, they make them live in the same house and date one guy, and they're not allowed outside contact with the world. It's like Survivor, but they let them shave. So... She didn't end up marrying the guy on TV, but she went viral because her name's Katie, but they just called her the dildo girl. Because like Survivor, you get to bring an emotional support item from home, and she brought a giant dildo. And now she has like 1 million Instagram followers, and I feel like she owes me. Because if we'd actually had sex that night, she wouldn't be the dildo girl, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? She'd be the very sexually satisfied reality show contestant. That is not getting anybody 1 million Instagram followers. I'm her origin story. If she hadn't left my house so unsatisfied, well, it sounds like we did hook up, kinda, but anyway, she became the Bachelorette, which is exciting. Yeah. As soon as that happened, everybody I know was like, you gotta go on the show and you gotta win her back. This is your destiny. I was like, all right, I don't know how much I wanna lean into that, you know? I don't need my claim to fame to be, I'm the guy who couldn't close the deal with the horny chick from TV. That's me, you know? TMZ's chased me through airports. It's the guy who got rejected by Snooki. All right, thank you. No autographs, please. Now that the show is on, I'm so glad that they didn't pick me to be on it, because it's reality TV. That would have been a disaster. They're not looking for me. They want symmetrical faces and white teeth, and every guy on there is like, I'm a firefighter, but this is my orphanage. I look after it in my spare time, you know? It's all, every intro is like, it's Greg, he plays hockey, and they show him playing hockey. And I'm like, what would they do with me? You know, like, Andrew's a comedian. It's just me jerking off in a La Quinta, you know? Like, I'm here for the right reasons. So I can stop doing this all the time. Sorry for the visual. Or you're welcome. I'm actually really glad that the relationship ended like that, because there's closure, right? Most relationships end and you just don't talk to each other for a while because of the judge. And just me. But this happened, and now I just get to watch TV and go, oh, well, it's obvious she still wants me. I mean, what does this guy have that I don't besides abs and a job? That makes sense, actually. It's a really tough year to be single because of COVID, right? Because I didn't want to get it. And I don't think I got it, by the way. I think I'm the only person that thinks that. Everyone I talk to is like, oh yeah, I had it back in 2012. Shit was crazy. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just trying to keep my distance anyway, but I have friends like that. They're like, dude, maybe you had it, you just don't know. I'm like, I think I'm gonna know. I can feel a winter storm coming in my right leg, but I'm gonna be asymptomatic for the worst virus in 100 years. I don't think so. I've never been asymptomatic for anything in my entire life. They say 50% of chlamydia cases are asymptomatic, but I've felt it every single time. So, I basically just didn't have sex for an entire year, which I don't recommend, but now that I'm through it, I'm like, when it comes to humping, I'm like a camel, you know? I can just go a long time through a dry stretch. And because I wanted to keep touring, and it's like you can't be on Tinder. There's enough diseases on there as it is. You don't want to add COVID to the list. And so what I would do is I'd basically, like, I had to go to one of the cooler states, you know? Like Washington's in like phase 2, but Texas was phase too many people are alive the whole time. So I would like fly there, go do a show, fly back, get tested, and then just hide out in my apartment in case I got sick. And people were like, why would you go on tour during a pandemic? And it's a complicated answer, so just bear with me. But I heard a story about Jim Carrey. Early on in his comedy career, he wrote himself $1 million check and then post-dated it for like 10 years in the future as a way to motivate himself to become famous. And then when that day came around, he was able to cash $1 million check to himself. And I did a similar thing. It's called credit cards. And the whole time I was like, money isn't real. And then they're like, we want that back. And I was like, guess I'm on tour during coronavirus. And But a couple months ago, I was on tour, and this girl came up to me after a show. She goes, I've already had COVID. I was like, oh, that is a great pickup line. You should keep using that. I feel so safe when I'm with you. And we hit it off. We had a couple drinks. End of the night, we were making out. And then I got nervous in the middle of kissing her, because I was like, well, I know she doesn't have it, but what if it's just like on her? Right? Look, I'm not a scientist. I don't know how it works, but if she's got the antibodies, she's probably just, raw dogging it without a mask the whole time. Just collecting loose COVID all over her face, or I don't know. Maybe she's got leftovers. I don't know how it works. Either way, I'm over here like, yeah, spit in my mouth. That's hot, It's tough to be single just because of all the social change we've had the last couple years. It makes it interesting. I was reading a Playboy for the articles, and there was an article that said modern consent is where someone is as enthusiastic about having sex with you as you are with them. I was like, I don't think I've ever had consensual sex. Like, I'm so glad you guys laugh at that joke. I swear, every time I'm like, hope this one works. I'm not saying no one wants to fuck me, it's just I'm doing most of the convincing, you know what I mean? But this article made it sound like sex is supposed to be like launching a nuclear missile, where I'm like, I have a key and you have a key, and we both turn it at the same time, and then phone the president to confirm the launch codes. Like, that sounds amazing. Just not happening often, I don't know. Consent is tricky, I guess, because sometimes consent is too enthusiastic, and that scares me off also. It's this weird Goldilocks zone, which is an awkward name for a joke about consent, because I don't think she had permission to go in that house. But I was texting a girl one time, and I invited her over. She goes, as long as you're not gonna murder me. I was like, I'm not gonna murder you, but I'll choke you if you ask. She goes, shouldn't even have to ask. I was like, I think you should have to ask. I think that's important. I appreciate the enthusiasm. It's just a lot of red flags for me. I mean, not enough, we still fucked. But the whole time, I was like, hey, you better watch yourself. 16 or 17 more red flags. I am out of here, all right? You better be careful. I tried to date a couple girls this year. Almost every girl I dated ended up dumping me to get back with an ex-boyfriend, which is a disturbing trend. It feels like girls date me for 3 weeks, and then they're like, maybe I can't do better. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll just be over here working on myself, I was flirting with this nurse gal for a couple months. That was pretty hot, I'm not gonna lie. I have always had a fetish for that kind of thing, Employed women. Oh my God, that is sexy. Oh, you got a steady paycheck and job security. That is hot. Yeah. Things didn't really work out. The pandemic was getting in the way of our sexy nurse role play we used to do. Because at first it was low cleavage and red lipstick. And then it was like, nice N95, baby. That's so hot. Ooh, your PPE is a garbage bag. Woo! You're steaming up my face shield, Looking like Andy Reid on game day. It's a joke for 3 people, but it's a good one. I thought during the lockdown, that's a perfect opportunity to reach out to some friends I hadn't talked to in a while. So I called this girl from high school who was like, not even if we're the last people on Earth. Like, hey, did you read the news? It's almost time, call me. Her exact response was, call me when cars are abandoned on I-5. I was like, oh, so you're saying there's a chance. And then protests started blocking traffic. I was like, hey, remember me? All right. Put me in the game, coach. Come on. I'm gonna call her tomorrow. Hey, there's aliens. Did you hear about aliens? It's not the end of the world. We're fine. We're getting through it. We made it out of this thing, I think. And that's exciting. It was close. It was a scary couple months for sure. Protests every night. And I saw one sign at a protest that said, racism is the worst virus. I was like, oh, that's a good one. I think racism and coronavirus have a lot in common, because some of us only have a little bit of it. You can give it to other people without knowing it, and your grandma will probably die with it. So, ooh, all right. Clapping at dead grandma jokes, my kind of crowd. A lot of scientists thought there'd be a COVID baby boom because everyone's locked up and nothing to do but bang each other. But it turns out the opposite is happening. They say nobody's breeding enough. which makes sense to me. I don't think parents trapped at home with their kids are like, you know what would make this better? 17 more of these rugrats running around, yeah? Sure, each kid needs his own laptop to go to school, and dad just lost his job, but let's pump him out. It's a pandemic. We don't know how long it's gonna last. We might have to eat one of them. I tried to do some baby booming. I got invited to an orgy, which was exciting, but it was on Zoom. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's the first orgy I've ever been invited to, and I still have to do all the work? That doesn't seem fair. How does it even work? I've only got 2 hands. I'll let you guess where the others go. All right. I'll give you a hint. 2 here. Okay, all right. I think Zoom is the right app for an orgy. Sometimes the connection is slow and the screen is all fuzzy. It reminds me when I was 13 trying to watch porn on a channel my parents wouldn't pay for, you know? Oh, if I squint, I can make out a boob. That's pretty hot. Yeah, baby. Ooh, nice nipples. Oh, that's your cat. All right. I was wondering why there were so many. Plus, there's like 17 different squares. I can't focus on that. I've got ADHD. Feels like I'm jerking off to the Brady Bunch intro, you know? Oh, Alice. Love a woman that knows her way around the kitchen. Just one creepy guy. Yeah. It's good. Nailed it. Immortalized forever. It's so exciting to be back to full-size crowds. I mean, for the last couple months, I'm performing in like 50% capacity and like 25% capacity, and I think I adjusted too quickly because the whole time I was like, this is fine. And now that I'm performing in full-size crowds again, I'm like, wait, this is way... It feels like I discovered my girlfriend has been faking an orgasm for the last year. I'm like, wait, is that how this is supposed to sound? Because that is way different. I feel like I've been lied to. I'm gonna miss some of the spaced out stuff. I'm uncomfortable in crowds, you know? I went to a Portland Blazers game in the playoffs that was exciting, and it was only like 1/3 arena, which was... By the way, are they opening arenas based on how far teams advance in the playoffs? That's my conspiracy theory, I think. Because LA was the strictest lockdown city, and then the Clippers made the second round, and they're like, open it up, we need home court advantage. But it was nice to not have a, you know, normally live sports is always uncomfortable. There's a guy spilling beer on your head, and this guy's yelling racial slurs, and I get it, it's the name of the team, so, yeah, go football team. But I love the NBA playoffs last year. We're in the bubble, that was very exciting. Although I didn't like that the players had social justice slogans on their jersey instead of their name. And I'm fine with politics in sports. I just don't know the names of the players anymore. I'm yelling at the TV like, fuck you, Black Lives Matter, yeah. You and education reform can suck my dick, you know, so. Anyway, long story short, I'm not allowed at Buffalo Wild Wings anymore. I'm in the corner like, Minneapolis is on fire. They're like, please leave, we've asked you so many times to stop. I'm glad things are opening up, but I feel like they're opening schools too soon. That one worries me. Kids are giant balls of disease in the first place. There's no way this ends well. That's probably why COVID doesn't affect them, right? Coronavirus enters a kid's body, all the other diseases are like, seats taken. Kids are giant bats. They hang upside down, they poop on everything. They use high-pitched screeches to move around, but I do think schools are doing a good job. They're trying, you know, I think they're very prepared for COVID. At least if a kid gets sick and dies, they already have plenty of chalk to outline the body, so that's fine. All right, well, you're not gonna like the next couple jokes, so. I'm glad they ended the mask mandate for vaccinated people or liars. That's good. And look, don't get me wrong, I wear the mask whenever I have to. I'm a good person, but sometimes I forget because I just don't leave the house anymore. The other day, I walked into a Whole Foods without my mask. Holy shit. That was a near-death experience for me. I'm just minding my own business. People are following me around the store, filming me. There's a Karen in the corner going, "Call the police, he's gonna murder everybody." I was like, shit. I think I accidentally discovered what it's like to be black in a Target, you know? It's a tough joke to pull off in a town without black people, I get it. You're right, let's move on to less controversial topics. Confederate statues, okay? So here's the thing. Wait, where's everybody going? Look, I see both sides of the issue, if I'm being honest. Because on the one hand, the Confederacy lasted 4 years. That's not really heritage. It's more like a phase you went through in high school. On the other hand, I had a girlfriend for 3 months that I still write jokes about 3 years later, so I get it. It's hard to get over stuff sometimes, you know? She keeps texting me going, "Give me back my underwear." I'm like, no, those are monuments to history, okay? If we forget our past, we're doomed to repeat it. I bought a pull-up bar because I was gonna get prison ripped during lockdown. It worked. I mostly just use it to hang laundry. The other day, though, I was walking by and my belt was hanging from the pull-up bar. There was no one even around, but I was like, not today, you know? And that's just how I got through. You know? Just the power of positive thinking. I went hiking all the time. That's what I did. What better for your depression than to be alone in the woods for several hours? Just looking over cliffs, like, oh, I bet that would hurt. At least if I fell, I'd feel something. I might be the only one that does this, but whenever I look over a cliff, I like to imagine which part of my body would hit first. And then that's how I know I still want to live. Sounds like just me. I was worried about bears at first because I'm a pussy. And I did some research, but it's very confusing because it says, oh, if it's a brown bear, do one thing. But if it's a black bear, do the complete opposite. I'm like, well, that's fine, but how do I explain to the bear that I don't see color, you know? I'm one of the good ones, bear. I'm on your team. I go back online, I did more research. It turns out there's like a nursery rhyme for bears. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it goes, if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. I think they got that from LAPD, actually. That's where that's from. Oh. If it's a polar bear, you say, all lives matter, and he lets you go, you know? So. Some of you might be laughing for the wrong reason, but we'll never know. I'm tired of fake service dogs. Yeah. And look, I want to be very clear. I'm not making fun of anybody with an actual disability. I'm making fun of people without any actual friends. You know, the type. They just throw a vest on their dog and bring it to every restaurant. Oh, I'm lonely. I wonder why. Did you try making human friends, or was it difficult with the rat you keep in your purse? My friend has a service dog, but it's a Chihuahua. I was like, I don't think that counts. She's like, no, it helps with my anxiety. I'm like, the dog shakes more than you do. Like, I think your service dog needs a service dog, to be honest. How does it work? Do you have two separate Xanax prescriptions or just one that you share? One for you, one for me. Oh, they're wrapped in peanut butter. It's a purse dog, and that's fine. You want a dog for your purse, just call it a purse dog. If a dog fits in your purse and its natural predator is a gust of wind, like, I think you're keeping it alive more than it's keeping you alive. If you need something for emotional support that's gonna fit in your purse, get a gun. Same thing, you know, dogs don't bite people, people bite people. It's not my fault. These are my service animals, Smith and Wesson, you know what I'm saying? Whenever I'm feeling anxious, I just pull them out, start petting them. Oh, really calms me down. Everyone I don't like just leaves the room. It's so effective. Who's a good boy? Oh, Daddy loves you. I won't let Obama take you. Maybe I'm sensitive because I travel every week for comedy, but I'm just tired of it. Every time I get on a plane, it's Noah's Ark, you know? There's 13 emotional support turkeys. a service pig, you know. I was on a flight one time, I saw a woman with an emotional support cat. That has gotta be the worst animal for emotional support. Cats are assholes in general. How does that even work? I'm feeling sad, where's my kitty? Go fuck yourself, I don't wanna talk to you. I think the only reason you need an emotional support cat is so it cuts your wrist for you when you're depressed. All right, thank you guys very much. My name is Andrew Rivers. All right. Get out of here. Do a merch pitch. Real quick, before I get out of here, after the show, I got a little shirt for sale, so the government doesn't know I make money. And it's an emotional support t-shirt, right? Because if you're feeling sad and you don't have your service dog or your vape pen, you just pet this guy, oh, and it lines up with your nipples. You're like, I feel so much better already. All my anxiety. I need emotional support underwear, you know? Hey, any underwear is emotional support underwear if you pet it long enough. If you buy his shirts, these are all in the VIP package, but you get a little beer koozie. Has my social, Andrew J. Rivers on Instagram, YouTube, OnlyFans, and then there's a joke on the other side because I saw a bumper sticker one time say, "Cars are like wives. If it ain't yours, don't touch." And I was like, what a dumb sticker. So I made these koozies that say, "Cars are like wives, I accidentally banged yours." And I know, I'm sorry. It was an accident, calm down. I left a note. Don't worry, insurance is gonna cover it, because she was totaled. Am I right? All right, that's for real, that's all right. You don't have to clap, you already clapped enough.